Alright guys, welcome back to Simple Acre Homestead. We're going to do a little garden tour update for you today. Just show you some stuff, talk about some stuff we'd like to change next year, and what we really love about what's happening this year. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and get notified for upcoming videos. It really helps us, so please do that. Something I love this year, as you might have heard in previous videos, that is my raised beds. Love them. And we have more coming, well, not more coming, but we have more built to be added to next year's garden. The cucumbers are absolute proof of how wonderful these raised beds are. I've never had luck with cucumbers at all before. Like, I've had a few here and there. They sit on the ground, they get yellow on one side. This year has been phenomenal. The cucumbers are growing tall, as you can see. They're climbing nicely, and there's not a ton on here that are big right now, because earlier I had to pick a bunch of them. I have like 4 bowls in the house. They were just getting a little too big, some of them, so I'm going to use those for relish. The others are going to be made into pickles, and I'm just really excited to be canning stuff already. Okay, so I wrote this down so I could tell you exactly how much I've made so far from the cucumbers. So far I've already made 13 5 milliliter jars. Okay, so 5 milliliter jar, close to a pint, maybe a tiny bit more. That's for our southern neighbors. 13 500 milliliter jars of sweet relish, 7 of those jars of tangy dill relish, and 9 jars of bread and butter pickles. That's what I've made so far. That's not how much we have left. Some of it has been eaten already. The carrots. I have not had luck with carrots before. We are in hard clay, and they don't grow well. But as you can see, if you can get in close a little bit, this is excellent. We have never had carrots come up like this. Some of them do need to be thinned, but it's really hard to do when you've never grown something well before and it's growing nicely. It is really hard to just pull some out, but I know they need to be thin so they can have the space. Tomatoes and peppers and okra over here, doing quite nicely. They are bushing out nicely. The okra, I'm confused about. Last year it grew really well. This year it's very slow going, but hopefully it'll pick up. Over here in the asparagus patch is where I stuck all my extra tomatoes. Well, one of the places I did that, and it's actually a very fertile area because they're growing very nicely. So this area here does not seem to be very fertile anymore, or maybe it never was, I'm not sure. The beans are not doing great. They are starting to grow, but I had to plant these twice. And because they weren't doing great, I planted them in a different section, and those are doing better. So we are not thrilled with the results of our wood chips, because looking back at pictures from 2 or 3 years ago, we had much better results with things like tomatoes and stuff. I don't know if we used the wrong wood chips or what happened, but it seemed to have taken away some of the nutrients from the ground, and we're working at building that back up. Which brings me to the grass clippings, which are a game changer for us. So we've just started adding grass clippings as a mulch around the plants, and it was like night and day. These tomatoes were looking very pitiful, and they're still not super impressive, but almost overnight they just started to get taller and flourish. The grass clippings are great at holding the moisture in, because we've had very hot, dry days, and very good at keeping the weeds down. So every few days I'll just go and hoe a few of those weeds, but they come up very easy and there's not much growing there. So over here we have more cucumbers. I've already used a bunch of them. A couple got away from me, so they're going to seed. That's okay, I did need to save seed. There's still lots of flowers, so many more to come. And the dill. This is one change I will make next year. I won't plant quite as much dill. I definitely overdid it, but most of my recipes I realized call for dill seed, so I'm waiting to collect that. I am going to preserve some of the dill weed as well, but it got a little heavy. That's okay. Over here we still have some lettuce that's doing okay, more carrots, and the melon, cantaloupe. Which brings me to a point next year. I am going to do some of these trellis things on different kinds of trellis and stick to the squash. This one's butternut squash. I like to do the squash on the arch trellises because these are climbing fast. And it is so cool to see it come together. So that's just a cosmetic change, but I'm looking forward to that. The squash is coming up quite nicely, actually. There's some small ones, but there's some bigger ones in here. And that kind of seemed to just appear overnight. It was just like, come out one day and it's like, oh, there's squash. Here, there, everywhere. Same with the cantaloupe, actually. There are little cantaloupe hidden here and there. So on this side of the squash I have more dill. I told you I overplanted, and I did, but that's okay. The Brussels sprouts, which I've never ever grown before, are growing very nicely, but they are getting cabbage worms, I think they're called, that are destroying some of the leaves. I'm trying to spray it with dish soap and water and seeing how that goes, and still waiting to see the actual Brussels sprouts come up. We have this area with peppers and zucchini. Zucchini's taking longer than I expected, but it is doing quite well. It's bushing out as a plant. I have my first red-ish tomatoes in the Tiny Tim variety. Okay, so one other change I want to make next year, I will not be planting peas or anything along the fence line. I thought it'd be a great place to trellis. It's already there, but the weeds are incredible. The grass that grows up between the fence, I spent hours, days on end, for hours a day, trying to cut the grass between all those so that the peas would have the space to trellis, and they just never really did, and the grass just came right back up. So we're just gonna mow it along the fence line and keep mulching it with the grass clippings, and I'm not doing peas there again. So here we have onions coming up pretty well. More cucumbers. Again, one got away from me, so it's going to seed. That's okay, because we always need to save seed. Actually, there's quite a big one here. Tomorrow or the next day is relish and pickle day. Over here, more butternut squash. It was planted a little later, so they're not quite as big, but it's still climbing nicely. Okay, so over here we have a bunch of empty space where the turnips were planted. We did harvest a few times and had some nice harvests, but toward the end I was finding little white worms getting right into the turnips, so I just fed them to the chickens. I'm not dealing with that. I don't really like turnips that much, so it's no loss there for me. Over here we still have the eggplant. We'll see how that does. We have had some harvests from the beets, which Bert really likes. And there's some nice looking ones. Maybe I can pull one up. Not a bad size. A little small, but not bad. So I'll let those grow a little more. Our elderberries are doing phenomenal this year. I can't wait to harvest those berries. Our apple trees are doing very nicely. We have a bunch of different varieties, so we're not exactly sure when to harvest them. I think these need a little bit longer, but they're doing really nicely. Unfortunately, we did lose a couple of apple trees to strong winds the other day, but oh well. Can't do anything about that. Okay, so here we have some more beets in the middle that were planted later, so they're younger, they need more time to grow. More carrots, also the second or third planting, and the pole beans that are finally starting to produce. We have a few, somebody saying hi. We have a few bigger ones. I will have to keep a close eye on them because they're really well hidden, but I do want to harvest and try dilly beans for the first time this year. I certainly have enough dill to try it with. The next trellis over is also pole beans, so I should be able to do that. Over here, it's kind of a little mishmash of everything. I have Brussels sprouts that outgrew that bed that I just stuck in here, and a tomato plant that was in the way, so I moved it in here. So there's a few more beets in there as well that need a little more time to grow. Another apple tree that's doing quite nicely. What is this? Gala. So it's so exciting to have fruit coming up nicely because we've never had a year like this. And of course, our biggest apple tree has never had fruit like this before. We've had just a handful, but this is crazy and wonderful. I have 2 raised beds that are empty for next year, or possibly this fall. I think it'll be this fall. Very excited about that. I'm not sure exactly what to plant, but I'm looking into it. The green beans that I started back here are doing well. This area seems to be more fertile. So the pole beans that I mentioned, I have more over there, and some cauliflower. I don't know what's going to come of that. I've never actually grown cauliflower well. This was an experimental raised bed and it's doing okay. I had broccoli here. I harvested it, but again, it got kind of wormy. It was just an experiment. So I know I can grow it here, but I might have to spray it with something next year. The celery is slowly coming up. Okay, over here is the raised bed with the greens, and that's what we've harvested the most from so far. This was a salad bowl mix, which we've really enjoyed. There's still some good salad leaves in there, but I just let it go to seed because I really like these, and I'm kind of hoping it'll seed itself and continue on. The Swiss chard is coming back strong. The leaves were kind of burnt and eaten, but these are coming back pretty nicely. The spinach is also going to seed, and that's fine. I want to collect that. And the kale I pulled because, again, it was getting a little wormy. Wasn't interested in worrying about that. So I pulled it and replanted, and it's already starting to come back. So pretty soon we should have kale again. So it feels crazy to be not quite mid-July and already have pulled up things from the garden and have empty spaces, but I am really glad we started early and things are going well. The garlic is already picked and dried, and that is another thing that I've never grown before, so I'm super excited about that. The peach tomatoes over here are doing all right, climbing tall. So over here in the strawberry patch, I put some extra cucumbers, and I've already harvested today from them. I wanted them to trellis along the play yard fence, and it's kind of working out. I don't love this setup, but still, it's a spot to grow extra stuff, and it is working that way. The strawberries I've already made strawberry rhubarb jam from, and that turned out pretty well. Everyone seems to like that. It seems like most of the strawberries are gone, but there are flowers here and there, so I believe these are ever-bearing. And even though the bulk came in June, I think we will still have strawberries for a while. The blueberry bushes are producing pretty well this year. It seems like it takes a while for them to get blue, and then the birds come and get them, so we have to stay on top of that. But we have had a few blueberries so far. That's exciting. We'd like to propagate some more and grow that. So we are gonna have a ton of autumn olives this year. We always have more than we could use, but the birds appreciate them too. And the elderberries, as I mentioned before over there, it's incredible. Last year, I swear I had 2 or 3 of these to collect, and this year they are all over. So the figs have been neglected, and they do definitely need to be weeded, but they're growing nicely, and there's a few really tiny ones here. I don't know if you can see that. All right, so I'm gonna take you to my other little hidden garden where I stuck all my extra plants. Hi, Pickles. Hi, Pickles. Can't pass Pickles without giving him a little pet. So sweet. Hi, ladies. It is very hot. The animals are more interested in laying in the shade than eating today, and I don't blame them. Hi, sweet Molly. Okay, so I have to get out here and collect some of these red clovers again really soon because most of them are going to seed. I haven't been able to stay on top of that. The Jerusalem artichoke is growing nicely. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that amounts to. Never grew it before, but it's kind of exciting. I think it should flower fairly soon. The comfrey, which I've already harvested once, has grown again to its full size, so pretty soon I'll have to harvest that for the chickens. We grew it for the goats and they just don't seem to like it. But the chickens and the ducks and the geese really do. So this area is very weedy because I can't get to everything. But I stuck my extra peppers and tomatoes in here, and it's a really good fertile area because I have more tomatoes on these plants than I do in the regular garden. So this one could have used a cage, but oh well. I don't even remember what variety these are, but there's small ones and really big ones. They're tomatoes. I will make something out of them. We have some volunteer sunflowers, which is always nice, and peppers here and there. Some more tomatoes over here. Those look like Roma. So yeah, stuff's growing. This was just a little video for an update, let you know how things are going, what we like, what we don't like. And if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next time.